So today we're going to do a little troubleshooting on this Mr. Heater 70,000 BTU radiant heater. And I've had this thing for, I don't know, about 3 years now, and it's been fantastic. And I finally hit a snag, and it's the dreaded E1 error code you get on this thing where it won't ignite. And up until this point, I've never had this E1 error code issue. But one of my viewers commented with a solution, and wouldn't you know, about 3 days later, after 2.5 years, 3 years of running this thing, I finally had that issue. So today we're going to fix it together. So before we jump into the repair, I want to demonstrate for you what this thing's doing right now, throwing this code. Again, I am running diesel on this thing. That's important to note because these things come from the factory set up to run kerosene. And that's kind of the root of the issue here. And of course now it'll probably light, but you're going to try to light. You can hear it pumping. The fuel should, if it's still messed up, not get ignition. So you heard it click, try to go over E1. All right. So it'll sit here, fan out for a minute, and then done. So we are dead in the water. The issue here is that this thing comes set up from the factory to run kerosene. And kerosene and diesel have different viscosities. What it boils down to is you got to change the pump settings so that as the diesel is pumped, the air fuel mixture is appropriate. And I think the issue is that the nozzle is now clogged because this has been set up improperly, if you will. So I've not actually done this or seen this repair done anywhere. Like in the comments on one of my videos, a guy had the issue. I could tell he was frustrated, but then thankfully he came back and shared with all of us his solution. So we're gonna try it here firsthand. And before we get too far into details here, you know, I'm not a trained technician in all this stuff. Anything you do at your own risk. I'm honestly just opening it up and troubleshooting at this point based upon some things I've read. So do as I say, not as I do. I'd like to get this off here so I can, got red on the left, white on the right. That's the best part about videoing your stuff for YouTube is you can always go back and check your work. Sorry, we're making some progress here. I may have done a little more off camera than I wanted to for you guys. So what I've done so far, I got that plastic housing off the back piece here, just 4 screws, pulled it off, and then disconnected a couple wires here, making sure I knew where they go. Not too hard when one of these is a clip, a couple red wires. I took the fan off just to get an idea of what I was looking at here. So the fan also just has 4 screws and 1 wire, which lands up here on top of the board there. You can see the open spot. I took the fan off though, just to get an idea of where the nozzle was actually sitting. So I pulled the 4 screws out of here, fan just drops off. And so the nozzle is sitting just on the other side, and that may be too bright for you guys, but just on the other side of this elbow here. So it's actually sitting on the far side. So knowing that, I thought I'd approach it from the front while still consulting the manual here. Started taking the front pieces off. So wasn't too bad. The heat guard there was a handful of screws, as was that shield there. Then off comes the black ring and then the ceramic plate on the front. This is nothing more than a chamber full of insulation. And then there in the back, you can see our nozzle. I don't know if you can see it better with or without that light. I believe this is a 5/8 inch socket. It is 5/8. Oh. Man, she's on there pretty good though. There's not a whole lot of room to be able to get an actual ratchet in there. How about them apples? There you go. That's all you need. 1, 2, 3, 4 extensions and a ratchet to get this done. So here's a quick look at the nozzle. Kind of got like a screen on the back here. Just need to make sure we get this thing cleaned out. I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet. Whether I might use some sea foam, soak it in diesel for a little bit, maybe a little bit of air. I'm not sure I have a pin quite that small to be able to ream that out, nor do I want to make the hole any bigger than it needs to be. So we'll get this cleaned up off camera and then we'll turn our attention to the pump over here. So I don't know the math of what these adjustments I'm about to make are going to do, but I'm going to follow his lead and troubleshoot from there. So there's 2 places to adjust. You have a Phillips head screw here on the back and this flatheads adjustment over here. And this one's here is actually painted with a line on it. So that's kind of indicating from the factory where it was. But the idea is that the pressures on this thing, I don't know if they're too low or too high. I would assume they're too low for diesel. So you need to tighten these valves up so that you have a higher pressure. So we're going to close this valve all the way and open it back up a 1/4 turn. And we're going to close this one all the way and open it back up a 1/2 turn. moved quite a bit. Call that all the way closed. All right, quarter turn back open. Seems like there's next to nothing coming out of there based upon how much we moved it, but we'll see. Now on to the other side. I apologize if you can't really see this too close, but you know what I'm doing here. Well, it only had about a half turn to close it. I guess we're putting it kind of back where it was. So I believe I have these adjusted as needed. So we just got to get that nozzle cleaned up and back in here, and we'll be back in business. Okay, so I went ahead and put the fan on the back there a few moments ago. Now I'm gonna get the nozzle in there. If there's one thing I'm nervous about that's not working, it's gonna be this nozzle. It has this screen here in the back. I tried to pull it out so I could clean the nozzle a little better. It does not come out, so it's somehow soldered in there or whatnot. Should have bought a new one of these maybe, at least for the video purposes. But I wanted to save some dollars. So get this guy back in here, and then we will button everything up. Against my better judgment, leave all of that front off there. I don't think it has anything to do with the firing of this. And we'll set it outside when we do this just to make sure we don't blow anything up. That way, if I have to take that nozzle back out, I can just leave this thing open. Should be a big deal. All right, let's see what happens. I think I violated some kind of safety thing. I couldn't read what that was there. Gave me another error code. I was mad about something not being hooked up right, I'm sure. It was reading E6, which is a photocell error. I don't know if because the back wasn't all the way buttoned up against the unit, if there's some kind of photocell that keeps it from being run with the cover off. Take two. All right, take three. I'm back in the garage now. I'm thinking that the legal team at Mr. Heater does not want you to run that with the front off of it. So that photocell may be grabbing light from the front as well. Who knows? Could be. I could have messed something up royally, but try it again here. Oh boy. A little gnarly the first time around. Glad I opened that door. So that's crazy to me because that almost will suggest that we're now burning or throwing too much fuel at it. But we just closed those things. So maybe my nozzle was that bad. I think I'm gonna start with closing that one nozzle up on that side first. We'll see what happens. So it has the code on both ends. That's something to be noteworthy. I can't just slip this on here a little bit. It's better. Starting to think a quarter turn wasn't enough on that back one. It's hard to tell outdoors. I think it's still throwing some soot. I may have to shut her down and continue opening that Phillips head one just a little bit. So these things typically run a little better once they've upped to temp. But usually when this thing's running for a minute or two, you shouldn't see the flames licking out the front like that. So that tells me that I still need to tweak it maybe a little bit more. It's definitely settling down. So this is, I don't know if we call it dangerous, but fun. Once you have it started and heated, you can take the cover off of it. So I should be able to tweak this on the fly for better or worse here. See how we do. Again, I almost need a second person to look at this. All right, now we're inside here. Killed some light, starting to see it better. It just started doing this here. I've got both of them open, probably a quarter or an eighth of a turn, I mean. So let's toy with this a bit. Toying around with this thing for a while now. It's honestly running beautifully. It just does have a little bit more lippage out the front than I would like and than it did previously. Part of me wonders if it's my nozzle and if I need to replace that. So we'll do a quick restart, I'll show you. Get it to do another restart here. I'm gonna let this thing fully cool tonight, and then tomorrow I'll come out here and refire this thing from a cold stop and see how it's doing. I always used to get that small, initial puff originally, so I'm not surprised by that. Dead on, it looks as it always did. Just got a little bit of more lippage there than previously. All right, so here we are the next day. I apologize. I had shot a video of this on startup, talking about why I ultimately settled back here, and well, Genius left his microphone laying over there on the other side of the garage, so all of my talking sounded like I was talking through a pillow. Yeah, awesome. Anyways, where I settled on this as far as the adjustments go, I've got that pressure regulator valve, the one that requires a flathead, to about a quarter turn open. So you can close it all the way, go a quarter turn open, or said differently, you can start at factory, which is about a half turn open, and close it a quarter turn. And then the other one, the Phillips head screw, I think actually doing some reading last night that that's more of a bleeder valve. Somebody smarter than me could probably let me know. So please do that in the comments. But we still have a little bit of, call it flamage, lippage out the front here. And I tell you, this thing is putting out way more heat, I feel like, than it ever did. So I'll take that. Hope I'm not overfiring this ceramic disc here. All that to say, last night I did buy myself a new nozzle. It's not here yet. I think it will probably fix what I've got going on here. I think I was a little aggressive with how I cleaned the nozzle up last night. I know many of you are shocked that I was overly aggressive. So we'll get a new nozzle on here, and I'll probably just jump in the comments on this video when I have it, if it fixed things or not. Again, the sole reason I bought this thing 3 years ago was because I was cold, but namely because it's so quiet. You know, I'm sitting here with the microphone on, this thing's raging, and I'm sure you guys can hear me just fine. It's not that loud and puts out a ton of heat. As far as safety goes, this thing is cool as a cucumber, and if you keep your cucumbers in the fridge, then you know what I'm talking about. So all in all, it's been a good unit for me, especially for the cost, not too bad. Not a great permanent heater, but nice to heat the garage up when you need it. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time. And if I do see you next time, that means that this didn't blow up on me and I'm still here making videos, so right on. Once she gets up to temp, real clean burn. Dang, that thing is hot.